They know something we don't.
Why do so many people get to be so evil?
It's human nature. We're selfish.
You was right all along. You and me, we was meant to be.
One Mississippi, two Mississippi, three Mississippi.
Nate is dead, Rue is trapped, and the finale is about to burn everything to the ground. This is the ending that nobody is ready for. Oh, here we are. 7 weeks in, and Euphoria Season 3 has taken us to places that honestly felt unthinkable even by the show's standards. Nate Jacobs, the guy who was at the absolute center of this show's chaos for years, is gone. Dead, buried in a coffin underground. And Rue, the person who has been narrating this entire story from the very beginning, is currently being held captive by Laurie. The same Rue who has somehow survived addiction, heartbreak, and every single rock bottom the show has thrown at her is now sitting in the most physically dangerous position she has ever been in. And on top of all of that, Maddie and Cassie are locked into a debt with Alamo that they cannot get out of. Jules is still just out there painting. And the season finale is right around the corner. The trailer dropped, and I've been going through it frame by frame because there is a lot happening in it. There are shots that feel symbolic, there are lines of dialogue that carry serious weight, and there are moments that I think are pointing directly toward how this season is going to end. Some of it is dark, some of it is genuinely tragic, and if my theories are correct, then this finale is going to hit harder than anything this show has done before. So let's get into it. This is the Euphoria Season 3, Episode 8 trailer explained, and just so you know going in, this video is going to contain spoilers. The trailer opens with a wide shot of open landscape, and immediately, before a single word is spoken, you can hear dogs barking and whining, and Laurie's birds screeching all at once. It's loud and unsettling, and it sets the tone for everything that follows. Then Laurie appears from behind her chair and she says, "They know something that we don't." Now on the surface that might seem like a throwaway line, but I actually think it's one of the most loaded moments in the entire trailer. Because what Laurie is doing there is acknowledging that animals have a sense for when something is wrong. When something dark is on the horizon. They pick up on things before humans do, and she's recognizing that. And I think the scene is doing two things at once. First, it's symbolic of the chaos that has been building throughout this entire season. Everything has been spiraling. Every character has been pulled deeper and deeper into situations that are darker and more dangerous than where they started. The animals reacting to that energy feels like the show telling us that the worst is still coming. That the finale is not going to bring relief. It's going to bring more of what the season has been building toward. Second, I think it's a direct setup for what's going on between Rue and Laurie in that moment. Because based on everything we saw at the end of Episode 7, Rue screamed at Wayne to wake up and made it look like she was trying to flee. So I imagine that when this scene plays out, Laurie is sitting there watching Rue and already starting to sense that something isn't adding up. That Rue's energy is off. That she's not just a scared girl caught up in the wrong situation. There's something else going on underneath the surface, and Laurie is smart enough to pick up on it, even if she can't quite name it yet. This is where things start to get really interesting. Because Laurie has always operated from a place of control. She knows how to read people. She's been in this world long enough to understand when someone is playing a game within the game. And I genuinely wonder if she's going to start questioning whether the deal that's taking place is actually what it appears to be. She's been trying to make enough money to get out. This is her last run, her final play before she's done with all of it. So if she starts to feel like any part of this is a setup, whether that's coming from Alamo or from Rue herself, then her reaction is going to be explosive. And that makes the opening of this trailer feel less like a quiet character moment and more like the first domino falling before everything else collapses. After that opening shot with Laurie and the animals, the trailer then cuts to Alamo. And the way this cut is framed is deliberate. We see him collecting his weapon, calm and methodical, like a man who has already made a decision and is simply following through on it. There's no hesitation in the way he moves, no second-guessing. And accompanying that shot is Rue's voice saying to Ollie, "How do so many people get to be so evil?" It's a question that lands differently depending on where you think Rue's head is at in that moment. Because this isn't Rue asking out of curiosity. This is Rue asking out of exhaustion, out of grief, out of having been surrounded by darkness for so long that she's genuinely struggling to make sense of how human beings end up this way. And then Ollie responds. He says, "It's human nature. We're selfish." Now that line alone could fill an entire conversation, because Ollie has always been the philosophical anchor of the show. Every time Rue has been at her lowest, Ollie has been the one sitting across from her, trying to hand her something to hold on to. And the fact that even he is reducing human behavior down to selfishness in this moment tells you a lot about where the season has arrived. It's not a hopeful answer. It's not the kind of thing you say to someone when you're trying to lift them up. It's honest. And it's heavy. I think the reason Rue is asking this question at all is because she's just found out about Nate. Think about it. She's been trapped inside Laurie's world for most of the season. Cut off. Isolated. And Nate dying the way he did, buried underground, killed by a snake in what can only be described as one of the most brutal exits this show has ever written. That's the kind of news that would shake anyone. But for Rue, who has watched this entire world operate on cruelty and power and people using each other as currency, finding out that Nate is gone probably feels like confirmation of everything she feared. That nobody in this life makes it out clean. That the evil she's been surrounded by doesn't stay contained to the people she expected it from. It spreads. It takes people. And now it's taken Nate. Paired with Alamo loading his weapon in that same moment, it paints a picture that the finale is building toward a confrontation that is going to be unavoidable. Alamo isn't a background threat anymore. He's front and center. And the show is making sure you feel the weight of him in every single frame he appears in. He's been positioned this season as someone who operates outside of consequences. Someone who takes what he wants, eliminates what he doesn't need, and moves on without losing sleep over any of it. And the fact that we're cutting between him arming himself and Rue asking how people become evil is not an accident. The show is drawing a direct line between the question and the answer. Alamo is the answer. But here's where it gets more layered. Because Rue is having this conversation with Ollie, which means she's made it out of Laurie's captivity by the time this scene takes place. She's back at Ollie's. She's sitting across from the one person in her life who has consistently tried to pull her toward something better. And the fact that she's asking him about evil rather than sitting in silence or breaking down completely tells me that something happened during her escape from Laurie that she hasn't fully processed yet. Something that she did, or witnessed, or was forced to be part of. Because that question, how do so many people get to be so evil, doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from a specific moment, a specific thing that happened. And I think by the time we reach this conversation in the finale, we're going to understand exactly what that thing was. And it's not going to be pretty. The trailer then cuts to Maddie and Cassie sitting together, and both of them are in tears. This is the immediate aftermath of finding Nate in that coffin. And seeing Maddie cry the way she does here is genuinely one of the most striking images in the entire trailer. Because Maddie has spent this entire season operating from a place of hardness. She's been sharp and controlled, and she hasn't let anything crack her exterior. Not even when she was a guest at Nate and Cassie's wedding, though you could see something flicker behind her eyes in that moment. But here, in the aftermath of learning that Nate is dead, that hardness is completely gone. And what's left is someone who loved a person deeply and complicated and is now having to sit with the fact that they're never going to see them again. And I think what makes Maddie's grief hit so differently is the complexity of it. Because this isn't a straightforward loss. Nate put Maddie through things that no person should ever have to go through. Their relationship was toxic and destructive, and there were moments throughout this show where you genuinely feared for her safety because of him. But love doesn't work the way logic does. And deep down, underneath all of the pain and the history and everything that happened between them, Maddie still loved Nate. That never fully went away. And now she doesn't even get the chance to figure out what that means or where it goes because he's just gone. Taken out of the equation completely. And she has to carry that grief while simultaneously being locked into a situation with Alamo that she cannot walk away from. Because that's the other thing sitting underneath the scene that makes it so much darker. Maddie and Cassie are not free. They are in debt to Alamo because of what he did in taking out Naz. He stepped in and handled something for them, and now they owe him for it. And in Alamo's world, debt doesn't just get forgiven. It gets collected. So these two girls who are already sitting in tears over losing Nate are also sitting with the knowledge that the most dangerous man in their orbit now has a claim over them. Their futures are not their own right now. And the show is making sure you feel the full weight of that in this moment. It's grief layered on top of fear, layered on top of helplessness. And it is a brutal combination.